From Peoria, Illinois.
We have a lot of stressors around us and still feel empowered.
To Houston, Texas.
I have curves.
Our lingerie collection designed for all body types.
I'm powerful. I'm within my own body.
Making her own way around the world.
I just did New York Fashion Week.
The owner and founder of Delisa Rose.
It's really showing a lot of the intimacy within myself.
This is an Intimate Night with Delisa Rose, a podcast for every woman.
Finally, there's something for us, right?
You talked about putting a show together here in New York. We're sitting in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And this is the second episode of an ongoing journey with you. Tell us about this month. It's the anniversary of your business.
Yes.
And men everywhere will walk into stores or come to websites like yours in what's probably the most intimidating day of our lives, and that's to try and buy lingerie for a woman. How do we do it? Give us some advice about what the women listening to this podcast can tell the men that are special to them.
Know your woman first. Know what kind of woman she is. If she's a loungy woman, don't go buying her the most risque lingerie, right? It's easy for a woman to go into a place to pick something out for themselves, but the men have to know the type of body type the woman has. They have to understand, have a sense of her sex appeal. You know what I mean? Like, I've had men buy me lingerie before in the past. They hate it because that's what I share with them. That's a
conversation that you would have with a man.
Yeah. So I honestly, if it's a surprise thing, I would just pay attention. I would just offer that the men pay attention to the woman that they, her likes and what she wears already in the bedroom.
So left to our own devices, most men will go out and buy the tackiest, sleaziest thing we can find.
Probably. And so he takes it back to her. And what if she's not confident? So it's more than buying the piece. You have to sell the piece to her. You have to make her feel good that she's going to wear this. Say she gains some pounds, just hypothetically speaking. And we all know how we get when we've gained a few pounds, when we're not feeling our best, right? The average woman may not just slip onto something and just boof. She has confidence and she feels good. Some people need to hear that they're beautiful. Some people need to feel or, do something special. They need validation. And that's nothing wrong with that. But it has to come from somewhere. If it doesn't come from deep within you, it has to come from somewhere. So the men should be able to tell their woman, honey, you're beautiful today. I got you something. I got you some roses. I went into Delisa Rose. She had this amazing sale. And she specializes in women empowerment and making women feel good. And I want you to feel good too.
You talked about at the launch of this company, It was for the everyday woman.
Yeah.
Tell me what that means.
So for me, I think the everyday woman that exists on this planet, whether it be body type, ethnic backgrounds, groups, spiritual, I know to respect to other countries that women can't always be out and like that, but maybe in the privacy, she's still a woman, she's still empowered, she still is beautiful, she still feels good about herself, and she still can own who she is, be it if she's in a relationship or not. When I say everyday women, I mean just the challenges of the everyday woman that we go through as women on the planet.
Working, single mother, often sometimes.
Women, yes, single, mother, wife, broken, down and out. Again, I come from seeing some of the harshest women in some of the harshest conditions. But no, we didn't touch on this in our first, but I worked at one of those 3 jobs I was telling you about at Caterpillar. One of them was the Women's Battered organization where women would come in who had dealt with domestic violence. And, please, we won't talk about that here, but how do those women pull out? How do they come out of those areas and their mindsets to now to sit and feel like they've come out of a bad situation and feel beautiful?
And lingerie was part of a healing process for you.
Yeah, I think that
built esteem.
Yeah, I mean, And it's not just the piece, it's just more or less identifying with your sexuality, with who you are.
At any size, at
At
any
any
age,
size, at any
from any ethnic background.
When you say any age, as an adult, but any size, we don't want to body shame. I mean, I'm tiny now, but I've gained 16 pounds, Bill, and I don't mind saying that. I've gained some weight since last year, but guess what? I still look beautiful.
Yeah.
I still.
Have you always struggled with weight? Has that been a lifetime thing?
I've always been tiny. Okay, but as we get older, the body does change. If you are a woman who works out and you have a certain shape about yourself and you take care of your eating, whatever the case may be, you may feel more confident in it. But for those women who just had a baby or who are just not, or overweight or who struggle to lose weight, oh, I can never wear that. Look at my body. They say that. And I tell them, yes, you can. You're beautiful and you're perfect. That's the message,
Qui, you decided to go into this business, apparently seeing something that was missing. And what I'm getting at is, I went to Victoria's Secret's website, and right on the landing page, there was a woman of color. And then down further in the landing page, there was a plus-size woman of color. Mm-hmm. Would that have happened 10 years ago?
I didn't see it 10 years ago. If it would have happened or not, I don't think I've seen it 10 years ago. And I was of age, and I actually was shopping at Victoria's Secret 10 years ago. I think we are now moving into a new direction as accepting, like we just spoke about, all body types and women, especially women of color. I won't get into more of like the number aspect of things because I don't know I haven't done any real analysis.
But it wasn't there. We don't need numbers or analysis. If you're opening magazines or you're going to stores and you're not seeing this stuff, that was one of the things that inspired you?
It did. And I'm glad you brought this up, Bill, because there is the brand Savage. Rihanna's brand is what kicked that off. And not seeing it inspire me, but seeing it happen inspire me also. And it's unfortunate that we have to have one brand that would be the voice of including everyone. You see, and now everyone wants to be included.
What are you doing that Rihanna isn't doing? What does Delisa Rose offer that they're, besides the great Qui? I mean, Rihanna's okay, but I don't think she's cutting fabric. I don't think she's designing those design. Maybe
I'm
Rihanna
not
is.
sure, but what I would say, what I'm doing that others isn't doing is I'm over here being an engineer and making lingerie.
There can only be one of those.
I'm saving the planet and making lingerie.
I think if you Google engineer lingerie, you're the only name that comes up.
And I'm
just going to go out on a limb.
I'm a renewables engineer now. So I'm also, I'm the future.
The future is wearing lingerie and designing oil and gas and solar power and
windmill.
Okay. What I know you're a big fan of La Perla also. Another line.
Love La Perla.
Now, what are they doing that you aspire to?
She has her own factory. Okay, I researched this lady. She was like, and please don't quote me, you guys, because I hadn't seen her story since I read some years back. I think she was like 1940s, 30s, maybe, and I could be 60s. I don't know. She has her own factory. I think it's produced out of Italy, and she's just an amazing lady. The lady who started La Perla, the challenge I'm sure she went through, because it's not really about. Now, Bill, it's not really about including everyone, but lingerie is still taboo. People are it's still conversations that they don't want to, it still looked at shameful, okay? Now that I'm invested in it. Now I try to make sure it's more appropriate to go outside with it on. And that's what the inspiration behind La Perla is, because she was doing it at a time where it was kind of almost like you could get banned. Remember I told you I did the magic show last year in Las Vegas.
Right.
And I had the old lady come in. She was about 80 years old. And she just fell in love with me. And she said that back in the day, she had to hide the lingerie under the table to sell it. And she was inspired that we don't have to do that now. You can have a store on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or your website or a storefront and sell openly. Whereas La
Don't
Perla,
send it in brown paper, unidentified packages anymore. It's
right.
like, yeah.
So we've really come a long way in terms of, the openness and also in terms of the cost. Because lingerie is $1 billion industry and it's projected to be maybe 40% increase in next 5 to 10 years. So I think it's here to stay. I wouldn't be surprised you don't see other lingerie brands popping
Here
up.
to stay, not to stay on. I think
Exactly.
that is what some people would say, if we can be a little randy. You mentioned La Perla being sewn in Italy. You sew everything in Houston? Do you design and make everything
we do both. So I design and make my signature collection in Houston. I have a small team in China that I buy patterns from. That if I feel like it's beautiful, we tweak them and then they produce a small batch for me. I'm not in the position to do big manufacturing. What I mean by that is the MOQs sometimes are 1,000 for one style. As a new brand, I can't keep up. I would say that's the challenge between my brand and you said like Victoria's Secret or Savage or La Perla. These brands have been established for years. La Perla's been 8 decades, 6, 7 decades. So there's no way I can compare my 1-year-old brand to theirs in terms of MOQs, in terms of turnaround time, and then production. So we do our signature collection.
MLQ is a...
MOQ, minimum quantity orders. So mini quantity orders. And so I think the challenge is keeping up with the minimum quantity orders, the MQOs, and trying to create so many SKUs, style, at 1,000 pieces per style, per SKU, and not a new brand. So my team in Houston, they can do up to 20, maybe 30 in one style. And so maybe if I give them, say I want 30 each of these pieces in this style, like the fashion shows we do collections. So if I have 4 in one collection, I may do 20 in one style of that collection. That's reasonable for me. That's safe. Mm-hmm. That's a good strategy. You don't want big boxes and things laying around inventory. You have to kind of remarketing and it's not moving. It's not.
So
selling.
how many SKUs or how many designs will you have on the website at any one given time?
Right now I have 6 collections. And then we have other items that I just purchased from around the world that I feel like if it's going to be sell in the store. But for me, as a designer, those are made to order, right? Because they're more expensive. I'm not just doing, small little like panties, little bras. I'm really designing it, and it's really shown on a runway. So it is made to order. That's where the 60% of my sales may come from, is the made to order stuff.
And does lingerie have a season?
No.
So there isn't like a fall and a winter and a summer collection the way there is in all other ready to wear or other design?
No, it don't. But I like doing collections. I always say we do what we want over here at Delisa Rose. I'm not keeping up.
I'm not at all surprised.
I'm not keeping up with what Victoria's Secret or any other brand. There's the beautiful brands everywhere. I'm not really just on the one's time. I'm really having fun. I'm really trying to understand the brand more, understand me more as the owner. And Delisa, like we said, Delisa, the brand is named after me. It's my name. So
you are Taquiela.
Delisa.
Delisa.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of, if I want to produce, great. If I don't, the great thing here, Bill, is building those solid relationships with your suppliers.
And your customers, who you
Yes.
speak to all the time.
I do.
They call you Quee, as I do. This is sort of your nickname,
that's
and they
so
follow you and want to know
crazy.
what you're doing.
Yeah.
This podcast is part of opening up to them, but also to people who don't know who you are. What's the big message for women in terms of someone that's in a job like you have
Yeah.
and has decided they want to go and pursue their dream? What's the first piece of advice you give them?
Do it. Do it. Just do it.
Did you start with a tremendous amount of money in investment?
So that's where I was going. So the advice I would say, first, do it. If it started in your mind, do it. Secondly, do your research. Do your research on the industry, what you're trying to tap into. I did my research. I hire consultants. So you go back to ask me, did I start out with a lot of money? Yeah, no. I had money, but I know what it would cost to be a cut and sew. Hence, that's why we now do other pivoting things, because you can't cut and sew at that degree of those MQOs. So do your research. Yes, understand your costs, understand where your cost is going to be allocated. If it's marketing, if it's, you want to start out small, if it's forming a team. I would not form a big team right off, right? You don't need everyone. You got to learn how to be all hats in your business. Right now it's just me and then my socials, who manage my socials, my managers. And really have confidence. Don't give up. There's going to be some days where you're going to question yourself, and it's not going to look like it's gonna. If you're looking to get rich quick, stick to your day job. Stick to what you're doing until you can do better. I'm still an engineer, and let me just say this: I had 2 engineering jobs when I first started Delisa Rose in 2 different industries.
When do you sleep?
I did not. Hence, that's why I passed out.
It's pretty ironic that you make sleepwear and you get no rest in your businesses.
Well, I can sleep in my lingerie and wake up in it every time I want to now. Okay, so, and that's the beautiful thing, is I can do and create whatever I want, one piece, and throw it out there. They love it. And you mentioned earlier that I'm very hands-on in my community. I don't know if other brands are like, I'm really a hands-on
Talking to their customers
CEO
the way you are.
Yes, I'm really on hands. I had a customer that, how do you deal with dissatisfactions, customers that are not happy with the purchase or whatever the case may be. You're going to deal with that. I've had customers who it didn't fit or whatever the case may be. The CEO isn't calling them or messaging them personally. I am. You know what I mean? And offering them, other
Rihanna's
options.
not calling someone and saying.
She's busy being, she has her other things going. And I'm not sure if she is or not, or if the CEO of Victoria's Secrets or these other brands
Or
are.
Kim Kardashian has Skims. Does Skims have any kind of lingerie wear, or is that just Spanx?
I think she has more. I'm not sure what her skin, because I haven't looked at her material.
They were bedazzling some stuff with
it was very beautiful.
Swarovski's. Yeah, but it's mostly just underwear. I mean, it's mostly just head to toe kind of.
Right. So it's not fashion lingerie like you would see out there in today's market. It's more, I guess she sticks with her, we can call it Spanx aesthetics. But she did do that thing with Swarovski, which I thought was beautiful. Threw some bedazzles on her lingerie. If we want to call it lingerie, we can, but I would say more athletic wear,
right?
Ish. But maybe Kim isn't calling her customers one-on-one. I am, so I make sure that impersonal, that's a skill that I feel like it's very needed as a business owner. It would be nice to get a note from Kim or a note from Rihanna. And if a customer wasn't happy or whatever the case may be, how they deal with issues, I'm sure they have people in their brand. Again, I'm a one-woman team as of today. I don't have layers of people just handling customer service issues. I'm it. So I enjoy it though. Even when I become this multi-million-dollar company, and I still would be very open to reaching out to my customers one-on-one.
This podcast is brought to you in part by Delisa Rose, your luxury lingerie destination, featuring in-house signature collections and other beautiful designs from around the world. Lingerie for every woman, many made to order with a nod to her engineering background. All shapes, all sizes. More at DelisaRoseLuxuryLingerie.com. What do they tell you about the line? What do they, when they're not saying this doesn't fit, and that doesn't happen very often, I guess,
no,
but
it
you
doesn't.
deal with everybody.
Yeah.
What do they like about the
It's
brand?
different. It's different. You can really see the creativity in my designs. I do go all off the way, and I've had back and forth discussions with my production team because they sometimes say I over-design. Lingerie isn't supposed to be over-designed. It's supposed to be just what we always known it to be. But I try to show my expression through my engineering. And one of the big pieces for me, Bill, the takeaways is to transfer from inside the bedroom to on a date. So I make pieces that they can go outside in. I actually have a couple pieces I'll show you so you know what I'm talking about. So it's more or less to still feel safe and confident outside the bedroom. So that's the different part, is you can wear it outside now. But last year in 2023 on the runway, you saw a lot of big names like Dolce & Gabbana. They did lingerie. And Naomi Campbell, which is an amazing model, I think she walked that show, and I thought, you can wear that outside. You throw a blazer over that. So it's now about styling it up. So that's the different part of it, aside from the look of it.
Wow. So we are on the ground floor. Well, we're sitting in the 18th floor, but you're really just getting this business started.
Yeah.
And you're learning how to grow what you hope to be a multi-million-dollar business.
It will be.
This podcast is part of that journey, and I believe the woman who tells me it's going to be a big, big success because you're driven, you have a vision, and when you talk about your own company, you talk about it in terms of another La Perla, another Victoria's Secret, another, but doing its own thing.
Yeah.
Did you have a vision board? How do you see things?
I did not have a vision board for Delisa Rose. I really birthed this brand out of my pain. That's it. It was nothing no advice, no blueprint, no model. I don't look at those other brands, believe it or not. I love La Perla, like you just mentioned, all these, household names, but I'm not studying them. I'm not seeing what they're doing. I want to be who I am. I'm me,
You're your inspiration.
I am, pretty much, and as a Black lingerie, designer, there's some, but not a lot, a handful in America, I would say, lingerie Black designers. I did what was in me and took it to what you see it today. Kind of living, I wouldn't say vicariously, but just even with the launch was someone's wedding. It was like a girl getting married. I took that and created this story. So when people came in, they saw flowers and, oh my, you've been to weddings. Yeah. So that I create romantic, soft love stories. Those things will never die, never grow old. So I think the pain that was in me wanted that. Having been divorced and gone through so much pain with that, I needed a story. I needed love. I needed, that spark in me again. So I think when we talk about creating and comparing to these other brands, it's a difference from when you just create a brand and it's for the money, and I'm not calling that to be what these other brands are doing for, but my reasoning and for what I'm doing, Delisa Rose, is really from my own circumstances and believing in myself to get to a place where I have self-love. I've accepted myself. And this is Delisa Rose, a brand that offers care, self-love, motivation, healing, all through a piece of garment, and making sure that people get back to confidence, or women that, who didn't feel their best can now do that and enjoy themselves throughout their lives. So I don't think I'm comparable to anyone, to be honest.
We are sitting with a very unique individual. We talked about building a multi-million-dollar business out of this, and I wonder if are all of or most of your clientele women of color right now?
No, I have a mix.
So you cross over,
Yes.
and you think that's important to the success?
Absolutely. And when we talk say for every woman, it's every woman out there. It's like I don't know how many nationalities out here in the world, but there's women around the world that are beautiful and so many flavors, I say. We want all women to support Delisa Rose. We welcome you. We love you. We deserve you, and we're honored to have you be a part of the brand.
Sexy doesn't have a size.
No, sexy doesn't have a size.
color.
It doesn't. It doesn't. You're a woman or a man.
Do you have any men that buy it?
I at the show, Bill, last night, the men came up to me and said that they want me to design a line for them. We are going to, and this is being announced right here on the podcast, we're sitting here with Bill McCuddy. Delisa Rose will be launching its first men collection in fourth quarter of 2024.
Whoa! So this is the time we live in, and everything is, I'm an old, antiquated guy, but this is for trans, or this is for people who work professionally as drag queens, or?
Yeah, we're gonna get creative. We're definitely gonna offer exclusive to, all walks of life, and obviously we're still testing and seeing how that looks like, because I'm creative in the design aspect. So both, trans, be it heterosexual men, be it can wear it. You know what I mean?
And the designs will be to flatter men who don't have big hips and aren't, or what are the challenges there? Because now I'm really curious.
It is very much a curious space, because we're still talking about the development of it, because obviously this is a brand that kind of cut and sew, and we design and we try to see what's out there in the market today and to be creative in that way. But for men, it's a little bit different approach, because I do have to consider that. For a woman, I could just, design for her body type, or, and if we're talking about body types, you have different body types within the groups of women. You have the BBLs, you have, the athletic type, you have the women who are maybe a little bit more curvy, voluptuous, and things like that. I had to work with those body types. But for men, it's now like, okay, what do I design, and who do I design for? But the men that are approach me are men that just wear regular boxers, briefs, robes, so we're gonna start small with something and see what happens.
All conversations in this podcast are mind-blowing. That one particularly so.
We're gonna see what happens.
Yes, we are. You talked about the pain that was the birth of this brand, and we will talk about that in the next edition of Intimate Nights with Delisa Rose.